Hello and welcome to the NFL DFS slate breakdown for Monday Night Football. We got the Eagles at the Chiefs. Should be a fun one. Little Kelsey Bowl we got here. And we're going to go over the slate as a whole, maybe some lower-owned guys to target, and my favorite higher-owned guys to go after as well. Now, before we get into it, come join us at LineStar. It is only $39.99 per month, $240 a year. Best deal in DFS. Get involved. Come and join us. Come hang out with me in the chat, and let's have a good time. All right. Now, let's get into this slate a little bit. 45.5 total. Chiefs are slight favorites at 2.5, so it's really just their favorites because they're home. Weather-wise, a little bit of rain, kind of cool mid-40s temps. No surprise, quarterback-wise, they're both going super high-owned. Hurts obviously has big-time rushing upside with his ability to get rushing touchdowns. And pretty obvious that both quarterbacks are absolutely in play today. And ownership-wise, look, they're both going to be very high-owned, so we don't need to talk too much about their ownership in particular. Now, as a whole, for the flex spot, A.J. Brown looks to be the highest owned, Travis Kelce below that, and then Swift, Pacheco, and Justin Watson. So what that is telling me is most likely Justin Watson is everybody's favorite low-cost flyer. Now let's dig into the slate a little bit more here. So starting with running back. Swift is the highest owned. Pacheco is the second highest owned, as it should be. Both of them are getting majority of the work here. Jerick McKinnon, however, might be a little bit interesting here as he gets extra work in games where the Chiefs are down a little bit. So if the Eagles are able to get out to a quick lead, maybe we see a little bit more McKinnon. At a lower ownership, he is at least interesting in this spot. And then obviously Kenneth Gainwell is getting, 30-40% of the snaps, and he does have a couple touchdowns on the year, so he could totally bang one in. But I don't love the other running backs outside of the top two. And if talking about the top two, I do like Swift better than I like Pacheco. That Philly D has been very, very tough versus running backs. So Swift is my favorite for running backs. Wide receiver-wise, A.J. Brown's going the highest owned, and he has been absolutely crushing all season long. Look, 4 straight perfect lineups, 6 of the last 7 perfect lineups. The dude has been unreal, but this matchup is a tough one for him. KC hasn't really let wide receiver ones do much. So with him being high owned, I think it might be a little bit interesting of a fade and to maybe go with Devonta Smith here, who's lower owned and cheaper, could save some salary and go elsewhere. On the KC side, my favorite play by far is Rashee Rice. Look, he's only 7,400, I think, on DraftKings here. And the thing with this is, so versus Miami last week, he played the most snaps he's played all season long. 68% of the snaps. It's covered by Jalen Ramsey a lot. He didn't do too much, but I just want to see the snap counts there. Versus Denver, he played 61%. So we keep seeing his snaps rise. Now they had the bye week. We got a full week plus a couple days because it's a Monday night game to get him even more ingrained in this system. And I am expecting over a 70% snap percentage for him this week and the clear wide receiver one going forward. I think this is a tremendous spot for him, and I really like his upside in this matchup. I would not mind putting him as a captain. Definitely like him as a flex. I think he's in a really good spot to finally kind of have his breakout game. It's definitely the weakness of this Eagles team. Now, the other thing with the Chiefs is they've got a lot of guys healthy. Richie James is back and healthy. Mecole Hardman, got acquired by them a couple weeks ago. He is back, and with another week, he could be ingrained more into this offense. I am a little scared of the snap counts for MVS and Sky Moore with these other guys back. Sky Moore and MVS just have not been cutting it this year. They've been pretty bad, and I think the Chiefs probably took some of this time to try and figure out what's going on with their wide receiver core and get it right. So I would not be that surprised if we see a little bit of a mix-up. Justin Watson is interesting. The issue with him is that he's probably just going to be playing the same role that he has all season, which is he's a deep threat. He, may get, say, 2 to 5 targets and 2 catches for 40, 50 yards. He is going to end up being touchdown or bust. So if one of those touchdowns happens to be for a touchdown, then he's going to be optimal. If it's not for a touchdown, he's not going to be in the optimal. And I think some of these other guys are interesting. Richie James has been out for a while. He, was getting some run earlier in the season, but he's a total punt play. Kadarius Toney, all season long, only getting, 20, 30% of snaps. Hard to expect with his injury history that it's really going to get up even more. So outside of Rice, I think all of the KC receivers are just total punt plays, and figure out, which one you want to go with there and play the ownership game here, because literally any of them could be the one. Now, tight end wise, obviously we got Travis Kelce. He is clearly in the best play from tight end spot. But do not forget about the tight ends of the Eagles. They're going to be on the field. They're cheap. Touchdown changes the slate a ton. We only have a 45.5 total. So most likely every touchdown is going to end up in the optimal lineup. So it very well could be one of the low-owned Eagles tight ends. Defensive-wise, Chiefs versus Eagles. Look, I think both of these defenses are in play. Yes, both offenses are good. They hold on to the ball decently, but the defenses are solid and can create some turnovers if, they're getting to the quarterback, maybe sack fumble, or quarterback's getting rushed and ball tipped, something like that. A lot of things can happen where the defenses are in play. And being the names as far as the Chiefs and the Eagles offenses, these defenses are likely to go under-owned today. And 45 total. It's well within range for a defensive score. Bucker, Jake Elliott, both in play, both solid kickers. And we've seen a lot in these showdowns that a kicker is making it into the optimal. On paper, this KC passing game is the one you really want to attack. It looks like it does have the most upside. The Eagles might have a tough time passing the ball on KC. So that is one worry. As far as on the running back, Swift has the better matchup. And it is one that, has given up a decent amount of yards to the running back lately. Now, that may have got fixed. We had a bye. KC could get healthy again, and KC was good against the run earlier in the season. So it's really hard to totally know what's going to happen here. But all in all, Swift does have the better matchup. And wide receiver-wise, as I said earlier, Devonta Smith has the much better matchup than A.J. Brown. I think he's in a good spot. A lot of WR2s have done pretty well versus KC, and that's likely the easier path to success. And I mean, coming into the season, everybody thought it was 1A to 1B as far as who the WR1 was. So that all that is saying is Devonta Smith is a legit, very good receiver, and I think we can trust him as your wide receiver pick today. The two that I like most, Rice and Smith, are both on top of this board here. Tight end wise, look, Eagles given it up a little bit towards tight end. Hunter Henry went off. TJ Hawkinson went off. Logan Thomas went off. Ferguson went off. And these, outside of Hawkinson, aren't elite level tight ends. So I think Kelsey definitely has a path to success here, and I don't mind that whatsoever. Now, quickly, I want to touch on the FanDuel ownership because we spent most of our time here on DraftKings ownership. Mahomes does look like he's going to be slightly higher owned. Jalen Hurts right under that. Running back wise, Swift is a little less owned than Pacheco, and really just because of the salary here. Swift is just a lot more expensive, so I understand why Pacheco is coming in a little bit lower. They really don't project too much difference, so that's probably why Swift is just coming a little bit lower. I do like Swift better, though. On FanDuel, Rashee Rice is getting a lot of ownership, which totally makes sense to me, and then Devonta Smith is next. I mean, as we talked about through this, that's definitely exactly how I would play it. A.J. Brown is third, just under 18%, by far the highest projection here. And then outside of that, we talked about the KC receivers after Rice. Look, they're all low owned, and there is absolutely a chance one of them does something. But it is kind of playing eeny, meeny, miny, mo. You really don't know which one for sure is going to do it. And Travis Kelce, only 23% owned, is probably a little bit low for his ability in this matchup. And defenses, both mid-20s with kickers and, single digits pretty much. Jake Elliott just over 10 at 10.1. All in all, make sure you guys are figuring out a little bit how to get different. It is a game or two teams that all the volume goes to only a couple places. So there's a very, very high likelihood in this game of the single game DFS contest having a ton of dupes at the top. But make sure you try and get at least a little bit different. Throw some little wrinkle into your lineup that isn't just hammering all the chalk in, just because there is equally as likely of something weird happening. And these, tough battles, especially ones where, two good coaches are able to game plan for 2 weeks or week and a half, I think it's very likely that they have some wrinkle for the other team that we're not used to, which will likely cause something, we didn't expect to happen. All in all, guys, thank you for joining me. You have a good one, and we'll be back later this week. We have an interesting week with it being Thanksgiving week, guys. All right, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the video. Appreciate it. Helps us out a ton. I'll see you later.